Our next speaker, as I think Mike from AusCERT made clear, it's just not possible to put on a conference this big, this far-reaching, this in-depth, without tremendous support from sponsors. So here to say a few words on a very exciting title, the CISO and the Gunslinger, from our Platinum One sponsor, PS&C. Please welcome Michael McKinnon.
Thank you. Good morning. So I need your help. Chief Information Security Officer. It's a very lengthy title, and it has this amazing acronym. And I work with a lot of CISOs or CISOs, depending on how we pronounce it, through the work we do at Pure Hacking, HackLab, Securus Global, and Certitude, which are our major brands. And I have this quandary. How do we pronounce it? Is it CISO or is it CISO? And I thought, what better opportunity than to get your help? And let's do a quick vote. If you think it should be pronounced CISO, can I see a show of hands? Oh, okay. And if you believe it should be pronounced CISO, can you give me a show? CISO wins, excellent. Okay, so I think I've mostly been saying CISO, although I think I have been kind of alternating now and then anyway. So CISO it is. CISO it is. All right, so I was browsing my LinkedIn feed, which has kind of become like, I don't know, the Facebook of our industry in some ways, and there was a really amusing clip. And some of you may have already seen this, but I want to play it and then let's have a discussion about what we see.
Hey! Hey! So my reaction was very much the same when I first saw this video, and I kind of couldn't stop watching it. I had to keep replaying it. And then all of these other things started to occur to me about this video. Like, first of all, why am I laughing? Like, why am I laughing at this misfortune, this incident? And so what I thought is we have a bit of fun and actually kind of go through this and see if we can have a discussion about some of the points here. Because I think there's a lot of relevance about our industry that is contained in this simple video. So let's talk about the CISO. Clearly, first of all, the first observation is we see this guy has a target painted on his chest. And that's not unlike a real CISO, is it, in some regards, right? And I want to clarify too that when we talk about this role of the Chief Information Security Officer, in some organisations they haven't formally recognised that role. There's no CISO as such. But what I would suggest to you is that the target is on someone in every organisation, whether they know it or not, the default CISO, if you like. So as I'm talking about this role and the CISO, have a think about people in your organisation who this might actually apply to, even though you might not formally recognise that as a role. And then I started to think, well, hang on, why did he get shot in the leg? Like, what could we think about with the CISO about why this happened to him? And then I thought, well, there's a few different scenarios here. And so the first thing is, if we believe kind of as a metaphor that the CISO getting shot in the leg is more about the organisation or the enterprise suffering some kind of mishap, then it's a bit of an unfair representation to put it all on the CISO. And typically we see CISOs who have a team of people working with them to help protect the enterprise, don't we? And those teams could consist of permanent staff, it could consist of contractors and outsourced providers, could also consist of vendors. Then I thought, the vendor. Maybe the vendor who provided the bulletproof vest kind of failed to disclose the fact that the protection stops about here, or here, or here, or here, right? They haven't kind of fully disclosed. So maybe that's one scenario. The other scenario that's interesting is what I refer to as the CISO of overwhelm. You know the job ads, right? Wanted, Chief Information Security Officer. Must have 80 years of strategic security management experience and manage networks and firewalls and have certifications in penetration testing. So these poor CISOs are overwhelmed and under-resourced, and they're going to get shot in the leg often. This is a problem for them. Then we've got another type of CISO that I like to call the deputised CISO. And we work with some organisations that really are sort of getting to a point in their security journey where they've realised that they need a CISO, but they don't go out and hire one. They just sort of deputise, oh, well, Bob's been here a long time, let's make him the CISO. And so poor Bob, he's just coming in, has no background perhaps in IT, he's very business focused, very good at governance and compliance, but doesn't really appreciate the technical aspects. And the metaphor for this situation is that Bob's getting shot in a leg he doesn't even know he has, because he has no visibility over the situation. Let's turn our focus now then to the penetration tester, the technical wizard who's going to discover the exposure here of the leg that the CISO is not aware of. And my first question here is, well, does this guy look like a penetration tester to you? We have a bit of a stereotype of penetration testers, don't we? The hoodied type, the teenager in the basement, if you will. So, there's some interesting dynamics around what that stereotype can potentially do. And if we're going back and we're talking about those CISOs who may have missed the information, whether it be technical guidance, have they listened to the technical guidance provided by these experts, and is that stereotype holding us back? The other interesting thing about this is when the penetration tester, or this guy in the video, pulls the trigger. Now, I showed this video to a whole bunch of people without the context of CISO and penetration tester. So they just saw the sketch. It's on YouTube. It obviously doesn't have those labels on it, that context. And the people who saw the video that way said to me, oh, this is an accident. This guy has pulled the trigger, but he's not looking, right? He doesn't know what he's actually doing. Then when I show people the video with the context of CISO and penetration tester, they all say, oh yeah, no, he knew what he was doing. This is deliberate. So this is an interesting point about how we think about penetration testers, that everything they do is deliberate. But the fascinating thing about pen testing is, and yes, there's methodologies that are followed and there's all this nice stuff the way it works, but there are absolutely vulnerabilities that are discovered completely accidentally sometimes. And so it's just the art of getting the penetration tester in to do the testing that may result in this, even though it's accidental. So accidental or not, you still learn some lessons along the way. And then it brings me to what I think is the most provocative part of what's going on here. And this is the fact that the CISO is standing there saying, come on, shoot me. I'm secure. It's this false sense of security that the CISO has, that nothing bad is going to happen. And we see this all the time. We see vendors, we see organisations sometimes make claims like, we have invented an unhackable product. We've got an unhackable network. It's this overconfidence that plays out. But it's playing out also in much more subtle ways, where some people have this notion and this sort of, I guess, this beginner's kind of notion when you start to look at security, that somehow security should be absolute. And so there's this subtle problem that happens across boardrooms all over this country, where the CISO, I said it right the first time, the CISO will be presenting to the board, and the director leans over the table and asks this question: are we secure? Are we secure? Now, if you're a parent and you've got particularly teenagers, you'll know that asking a question that's only going to warrant a yes or no answer is a very bad idea. So we need to stop asking the question, are we secure? Because it has this inbuilt notion that security is an absolute, and we know that security is not an absolute. So the questions need to get better from the highest levels, And if you can start asking questions like, how secure are we? And recognise that your security posture falls onto a spectrum, which a lot of us know as industry professionals, but some people are still getting used to, then that's a real issue. There's a mobile phone or something going on there in the background. So if we ask these better questions, one of the fascinating things that can happen is this communication ripple that can happen, a sort of a communication ripple of inquiry that can happen from the boardroom all the way down through to the basement. So it can really change the dynamic of how we do security. And then, as we get near the end here, I want to talk about this main point here, which I think is really sorely missed. And the fact we laugh at this guy's misfortune, we laugh at the CISO's misfortune, he's been shot in the leg, but he's the one who actually handed the weapon to the penetration tester. And so in our industry, and particularly in the theme of don't go it alone, there is this partnership that happens, and the CISO is giving permission to the penetration tester to be shot in the leg effectively, right? So, and this is a wonderful partnership. It's a wonderful type of engagement. Even though the CISO in this example is a little bit overconfident about his security, he still ends up being shot in the leg. So there's really a couple of points I want to leave in summary around here that I hope you got from this video, and that's it, that there is a target on someone in your organisation, whether you know it or not. Make sure you find who that person is and give them all the resources and encouragement they need to succeed. And the other point too is that if you're that person, then make sure you act on technical advice. It's always better, even if you've come from a background where you don't kind of acknowledge or you're not interested in technical opinion, make sure you really do have a spirit of accepting it and working with it. And remember that security is never absolute. There's always this gradient and this measure, and we always want to work towards improving it. And remember one thing, that it's much better to get shot in the leg than it is to get shot in the head at the end of the day. And if, as a CISO, you have got all of your ducks in alignment and you're working towards working with these partnerships and you're not going it alone, then hopefully over time, you'll end up looking, and your organisation will end up looking something like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. We're going to give you a little gift. Miko, if you'd like to come to stage as well, we've got a gift for your presentation. Miko, back on stage for a second. Just quickly, we're going to give you a little gift as a thank you. For those who've been to AusCERT before know that we've done the gift thing before. We've often gave away a commemorative coffee cup one year, sample of Australian wine one year, did a cheese board one year. This year, we've gone a little bit nerdy. And quick show of hands if you've done a bit of The Legend of Zelda in your time. Fantastic. Quick show of hands if you think you're a reasonable player of chess. But if you chess players, yeah, great, okay. Well, look at this. The Legend of Zelda chess set. It doesn't get much geekier than that. Miko, fantastic opening presentation. Mike, give them both a big round of applause for getting us off and running in 2019. The Legend of Zelda chess set. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Want to thank our sponsors, PS&C on that occasion, and all the other sponsors. Simply not possible without your support.